Good afternoon, everybody. It's David Perlmutter from Quantum Listing. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our webinar. I'm very excited to have Mike Lynn here to tell us about tips on using video for commercial real estate marketing and personal branding. I met Mike a few years ago. He was a very early adopter of Quantum Listing, and we got to meet at ICSE Recon in person, and he was kind enough to do a early post for us on our blog about the Inland Empire. And you'll see today that Mike is a very bright, thoughtful, and humorous guy. He's uh, got a very sly, interesting sense of humor, which I'm sure he will grace us with today. Uh, so let me tell you a little bit about Mike. Uh, Mike specializes in representing buyers and sellers of single tenant and multi-tenant retail investment properties. He's been involved in the sale of properties leased to tenants including Rite Aid, Big Five Sporting Goods, Ross Dress for Less, Stater Brothers, Bank of America, Carl's Jr., Sally Beauty, and others. He is a broker at Progressive Real Estate Partners in the Inland Empire, and prior to that, he was at NAI Capital in Irvine, where he focused on the retail market as a landlord and tenant rep. And before becoming a commercial broker, he was a real estate investor with experience in property management, residential investment, and flipping houses in Orange County. Throughout Mike's career, he's worked for multinational corporations such as Nestle Powerbar, Prudential,
Alert.
Computer Sciences
Google password required.
His ingenuity and previous experience in multiple companies enables Mike to become more versatile and adept to the commercial real estate industry. He's got a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering from Johns Hopkins and an MBA from the Fuqua School of Business at Duke. And he's a past co-president of the Duke Alumni Club of Orange County. He's a member of the aforementioned International Council of Shopping Centers and lives in Tustin with his wife and two children. His hobbies include tennis, triathlons, photography, and guitar. You know, Mike, I didn't warn you about this before, but one of our previous webinar guests had a guitar in the background when he was giving his webinar, and we coerced him into playing us one of his original compositions. I don't know if your guitar is handy, but if you got some extra time and interest at the end, maybe you can grace us with a song.
Oh gosh, I'm still a beginner, so you don't want to hear me play.
So Mike, other than Mike being a really interesting, bright guy and nice to talk with, he has been doing some really great work with videos in the last year. And he's got really two kinds of videos. One which I think was what he started with, which was doing presentations of his exclusive listings. And unlike the videos that I do that have absolutely no production value, Mike has figured out how to make his videos look really professional and good. So kudos for that. And in addition to that, he's now doing these weekly or every other week video updates where he's talking about current news events and how they're affecting his real estate practice, and just things that are of general interest to the commercial real estate community. And of course, he's keeping us up to date on the status of whether or not barbershops are open in California. So with that all being said, Mike, I want to throw it over to you. And I see we have a little sneak preview of some of the questions that we'll be talking about. And to everybody who is watching today, please feel free to ask questions in the chat, and we will get to them at appropriate moments. And these are always very informative, but they're even better when you, the audience, participates in some manner. So we do hope that you will be sure to ask any questions that you might have along the way. So, Mike, how did you decide to get started with the video?
Sure. First of all, thanks, David, for having me. Thanks, everyone, for taking time out of your day to come listen to this. I hope you get something out of it. But really, I first heard about using video for real estate probably about 2 or 3 years ago. I went to a presentation by a residential real estate company, and they were trying to recruit agents, and they said video is the future. And I said, oh, that's pretty interesting. And then for a year, I didn't do anything. And then a year later, I heard another residential broker saying, video is the future. You guys should be doing video. Started looking at what some of the residential real estate agents are doing and doing their property videos, and said, this is really good. Maybe we should do this for commercial. Then I didn't do anything for a couple months, and then a colleague in the office and I had a listing that we were having some trouble selling it. It had been on the market for a couple of months and not had a lot of activity. I said, let's do something different. Let's make a video and talk about this property, and we'll just put it out there. And so it was very plain. We wrote the script together. He stood in front of a wall. I held the camera, and it was just a plain background. And we typed up the notes and put them up on the TV on the other side of the room, and he just read the notes. And it was a very basic video, but we put it out there, and kind of embarrassed to say it was kind of one of the first listing videos that we had seen. And it was, like I said, we didn't have any, I don't even think we had photos of the property at all. It was just one person talking in front of a wall. And but we got a positive reception from it. People saying, hey, we haven't seen that before. That's pretty interesting. We like your video. And so we started to do this with more of the properties and incorporating some photos of the property, some videos of the property, and then we got drones and we started shooting drone footage, just trying to make them a little bit better. I would say that we're still not at the level of some of these residential agents. I think residential real estate is way ahead of commercial when it comes to things like this, but that's really how it got started. We wanted a way to cut through the clutter because so many people are getting so many emails every day from brokers about properties for sale, and how can you separate yourself and be different from everyone else out there. And one of the ways we thought to do that was by making a video.
And tell me, what are your clients' response to your videos?
Well, the video definitely got a lot of people, even just replying and saying, hey, they like the video. We have, it's hard to say whether it actually brings in a person who's ultimately going to buy that property, but we do think that we have checked the open rates. People are opening emails at a higher rate when you put video in all caps in the subject line, because at least it's something different, and people say, oh, there's a video I can see. But what it's really helped for is when I'm doing proposals to list new properties, I go in and I show them, hey, this is a video I did for a previous property, and this is what I can do for your property as well. So that's another way of differentiating myself versus the other brokers in the market who are also selling properties.
Are some of your competition beginning to catch on and doing videos themselves, or you're still a pioneer?
Surprisingly, I haven't seen other people doing it. I don't know, either because they don't want to, or maybe they don't think it's that effective. I have seen videos of properties for sale, but typically they're more, photos, some drone footage, some text on the screen. But in terms of putting myself in front of the camera, I don't think I've seen someone else, at least in my market, doing it. I have no problem if anyone does. I mean, video is no secret, but yeah, surprisingly, I haven't seen many other people doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear to me when I watch your videos that you're not just like turning on the camera and talking. There's a lot of preparation that goes into these videos. I mean, so you've got pre-production, you've got production and post-production all going on. How often, for like a 5 or 6 minute video, how much time do you think that you're pouring into that?
Sure. So to go back to an earlier point, I do basically two types of videos. One is, about a property for sale, like a listing video, which I try to keep pretty short, about 2 minutes, because I think people's attention span is when they're looking at properties to buy is not that long. And then I've recently been doing these weekly videos where I talk about the news and talk about how the news affects commercial real estate, and those are sometimes up to 7 minutes long. Whether people watch all 7 minutes, I really don't know. But to make one of these weekly videos that I've been putting together probably takes a total of 8 to 10 hours per video per week, which is a pretty big time commitment. And I started doing these back in March when the virus first hit. We were all sitting at home thinking, what the heck are we going to do? We didn't know when we would resume normal business. So I had a lot of time on my hands. And in the beginning, it really wasn't that big a deal. And as hopefully you guys have also experienced, things have been getting busier in the past couple months. So my regular work has been getting busier as well, and it's harder to find that time to write and film and edit that video, because like I said, it's like 8 to 10 or sometimes even more. I've never really counted, but I'm estimating it's about that much time per week. So one thing that can be outsourced is the editing part. So editing is very time consuming. And in the beginning, I really didn't have any video editing experience. And so there's a couple ways you can go about that. You could hire someone. You could learn to do it yourself, or you can hire someone. And for the listing videos, I typically will hire someone. And there are websites like Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, where someone will offer their services for a fixed price. And you can often get a video edited very professionally for under $100. So that's what I was using in the beginning. There was one guy who did all of my videos, and I recommended him to other colleagues in my office. So we're giving him a good amount of work. And the turnaround time for those is about a week. So when you get a new property listing, usually takes about a week or two to get all your marketing materials together. So a week is not too bad. Well, they might turn around in 3 days. You'll have some revisions, so the whole process might take about a week. And the videos I've been doing more recently, which is current news, those I don't have the flexibility to have that turned around in a week. I need those done right away. So in the beginning, I was doing all the editing. So I try to get these videos emailed out to my database on Wednesday mornings. And so I spend the entire week up until Wednesday collecting news and writing what I'm going to talk about. And by Tuesday afternoon, I have that filmed. And so between Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening, I need to get that edited and pushed out. So at first I was doing it by myself, and I was just up, really late nights, like 2 and 3 in the morning, getting these out. And more recently, I hired an editor to do this, but not someone who's overseas. This person's based in the United States, and she can work on the schedule I need, which is, I drop the video to her on Tuesday at 4:30 in the afternoon. She gets it back to me at Tuesday at 9 p.m. So during that time, I can have dinner with my family, and the finished video is back to me at 9 p.m. And then I put together the email to send it out to everyone. So that's basically the process and the timeline it takes to get these videos out.
So we had a comment from Danielle Haney. Hello, Danielle. Thanks for being with us today. Who's a huge fan, by the way. And
I don't know.
And I'm a big fan of hers too, by the way. And she wants to know, her comment was about a video you did with microphone differences. And she thought that was great. And one of the things that I thought would be helpful to the people watching is if you could share with us, some of the equipment that you use to put these together, and equipment,
Sure.
software as well.
Sure. Okay. So I'm not in my filming office today, so I apologize. I can't actually show you a lot of the equipment I use, but a lot of my videos and all the early ones were done on my phone. I have an iPhone 8. I don't even have the latest iPhone. I have an iPhone 8, and all of the smartphones have really good cameras, so you can use any cell phone to film. But the key is that you want to have it still. So if you can put it on a tripod, then your video quality will be much better. And also, what's really key is the lighting. So I use a ring light. I think I bought on Amazon for probably about $100, and it's basically a circle, and it's about this big, and I set it about 2 feet in front of me, and it provides even lighting, and it does create like little rings in your eyes, but it's not I don't really think it's too much of a distraction. So you want good lighting. I'm sorry, dude.
It's a twinkle in your eye. It's not a ring.
Yeah, a little twinkle. And very, very key is good audio. So Danielle, thanks for the props on the microphone video I did. I kind of did that for fun because I was trying to test out what type of audio was best, what solution was best for me. So if you're using your phone obviously has a built-in microphone that you can use. If you want to step up a little bit, I bought it's like a plug-in, they call it a lavalier or a lapel microphone. So it's basically clip-on. You've probably seen a lot of people, nowadays when you see these Zoom calls with interviews with people, you just clip it onto your shirt, and there's a long wire that you plug into your phone. And so that's another level of to step up to make your video sound good. Because if you're creating a video, if the sound is bad, people will turn it off really quick. So if let's say you're outside, you're doing a property video, it's windy, and you can't really hear what the people are saying, like people will just turn it off right away. But if you have really good audio, even if the video quality is not very good, people will listen. That's kind of what I've noticed and what I've been hearing from a lot of these people instructing you on how to make video. Audio quality is very important. So an inexpensive lapel microphone, you could buy a plugin on Amazon probably for about $15 or $20. That will dramatically improve the quality of your audio. It'll reduce the echo that you have. A next level up in this video that Danielle's mentioning, I got a wireless setup, so you can plug in one end into your camera or your phone, and there's another part that clips to you, and you can walk around. So I bought this because I thought it was interesting. I haven't really had a chance to use it yet for an actual video, because the wired microphone that I just plugged directly into my camera, that's a lot more convenient. But that's another microphone you can use too. One thing interesting is that you'll see a lot of people nowadays, and they'll use their AirPods. You'll see them recording video, and their AirPods are in their ears, and they're kind of walking around and talking. They don't work for recording video. So every time I see people on Facebook or whatever, and they've got these in their ears and they're recording video, I want to say, like, that these aren't transmitting your voice to your camera. At least in my experience, I have the AirPods Pro, and I also have the Generation 1. Yeah. Neither of them did anything. So you might as well just take them out of your ears, and they're just basically using the microphone that's in the camera. So obviously the sound is going through, but it's not going through the AirPods. It's just going through the camera. I am for my weekly videos, I use a Canon M50. It's probably a $500 or $600 camera. It's not an SLR. It's like a mirrorless camera, but it's a smaller camera. I have it always set up on my camera setup, or on my tripod, so I don't have to. If I had used my phone, I'd have to keep taking it off and putting it back on. So I use the Canon M50 as my regular filming camera. In terms of software, there are lots of editing software programs out there. I use one called Camtasia, Camtasia. It is a software that you have to purchase, so I paid like $300 for it a couple years ago, and it's simple to use. It's definitely not the most advanced editing software out there, but it's a software that someone recommended to me, so I've been using it, and I find it easy to use. And probably the most popular editing software out there is called Premiere, Adobe Premiere, and I think there's one called Premiere Elements that's less expensive. It's more basic, so you can use those as well. If you're on Mac, your Mac, I believe, comes with iMovie, which is free, and iMovie is also a free app on the iOS platform. So a couple of the videos I did early on were I shot them on my iPhone, I edited them on my iPhone. I didn't even use any sort of computer to put together the video. So that's basically the software and hardware that I use. And just the key is that a lot of people say it's really hard, but it's putting out a video is only as hard as you want it to be. You can just get your phone, turn it on selfie mode, stand in front of a building, hold the phone as still as you can, and just talk. And that alone, that first step of creating a super basic video and posting it somewhere or sharing it with people, that's not that hard. It doesn't take anything fancy, but that's really the first step in getting going. And you don't have to go fancy with outsourced editors or expensive cameras or anything. You can start super basic, and if your content is good, that's the most important thing.
Did you have any experience prior to doing these with acting or radio, or you just started, said, hey, I'm just going to do this?
I said I'm just going to do it, and normally I'm I would think a pretty private person. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I never post because I just don't like to. I don't know. I think I should put more stuff out there, but I don't. But I just figured I'm just going to put myself out there, and if anyone had a problem with it, then they'll say something. But so far, the reception has been very positive, and it encourages me to keep doing more videos.
Yeah. And have you gotten more comfortable with it as you've, now that you've been doing this for some time?
Yeah, for sure. My weekly videos, I'm up to, I think the one that went out this morning was my 23rd video in 23 weeks. So now I've gotten the process down. I'm trying to still find a way to do it faster, but getting in front of the camera and speaking is not that. I'm getting kind of used to it now.
Yeah. And are you rehearsing those weekly videos, or are you doing it one take and whatever's in the can is what's in the can? How does that work?
Sure. So I try to do it in one take. I don't memorize it, so I script out everything, and if I guess I wish I could just kind of go off the cuff, but I do have to write everything out, and I use a little teleprompter that hooks onto my camera. It's called a parrot, like the bird parrot, and so it's a little box, and I can write out the script, and I can put the script on an app on my phone, and the phone actually acts as, it scrolls, and you use this parrot teleprompter, which will display it for you, and it displays it in a way that obviously your person watching the video can't see the text. Only you, as the person speaking to the camera, can. So I'll push record on the camera. I'll go through my presentation or my script, and then if I mess up, I'll just go back a sentence and I'll start again. And at the end, all of those mistakes get cut out in editing. So that's process.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're very fluid when you're doing these, and it doesn't look like you're reading. And I think that's, if I'm holding something in front of me and, reading something, you can see my eyes moving and, going back and forth and squinting because my eyesight's horrible. But, you don't have it. I mean, you look like, the guy from the news, reading the news.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting that that's how you do that.
Yeah, well, thanks, and that's that's why I upgraded to get a real teleprompter, because in the beginning there's an app. You can get these apps on your phone that will basically show the text here, and then you just kind of read the text and it'll scroll up. But here's one thing to note: your camera is here. So I still have the button on my phone. I don't know if you can see it, but I have the button, and the button is here. Your camera is up here, and your text is here. Now, if you're too close to the camera and you're looking here, people will know you're not looking at the camera. You really should be looking in the camera when you talk to it. And the bigger your phone, or even if you don't have a teleprompter or any text on the screen, if you're using a selfie camera, people will tend to look at themselves because you want to see what you look like. But if you're looking at yourself, that means you're not looking at the camera. So it's really a minor detail. It's not really a big deal. As I mentioned before, the most important thing is getting started, not making sure everything is perfect. But if you do make more and more videos and you kind of want to tweak things a little bit, just try. Or especially if you don't have to read something, if you're just talking, off the cuff and off the top of your head, then you should look into the camera, and that eye contact will help you improve your videos.
We had Allison Monahan McGuire as a guest on our webinar, and she is a actress who is now coaching people on how to do better online presentations. And I think she really echoes a lot of what you've said. Also, what about camera position? How is it
Sure.
relative to your head?
So camera position, don't do as I do on Zoom calls, but one way to think about it is if you know photography, there's something called the rule of thirds. So you take your rectangle and you draw a tic-tac-toe line. So you've got two lines about here and you got two lines about here. And you want the horizontal, the one that's kind of at the top to go about where your eyes are. So you want a little bit of room above your head. Even if you cut your head off by mistake, which I have done sometimes, accidentally, that's better than having your head too low. Because if you put your head too low like this, like let's say your head's kind of right in the middle, then there's too much space above your head, and it just doesn't look very good. So ideally, probably about here is where you want to be, just a little bit of space above your head.
And if you're older and jowlier, you want to have the camera a little higher than your head too. Right?
Sure.
These are great practical tips, and so I have to say that I'm going to take a moment here to go through the comments with you and some of the feedback and questions that we've been getting. So the first question is from John McQueston. He wanted to know what's the name of the video editor again. John, maybe you can clarify in the chat whether that is software you're talking about or a human editor, or whether it was Fiverr or the service that he initially got that first editor from. Danny says that the microphone that you recommended was also very good for selfie videos. It's much more clear. John McQueston, I guess it was clarified at some point. He says he's using Microsoft Video Editor. It's very user-friendly and has good YouTube training videos. So thank you, John, for that helpful information. Deborah Kubicek asks if you use Matterport for 3D virtual tours.
Thanks, Deborah, for the question. I personally don't. The properties I sell are typically leased investments, so it would be a strip center, and so very often the buyer doesn't even go inside. So I'm basically taking photos of the outside of the property, or I'm having someone take photos. So I haven't done that. I do have a vacant building that I'm selling, and I have thought about doing the 3D virtual tour, but haven't really pulled the trigger on that. I don't have a 3D camera, although I've been looking at some of them because I think they do really interesting stuff, but have not pulled the trigger on buying that or using it for any of my marketing.
So I have a Ricoh Theta camera, which is a 360-degree camera. I don't know if it's really 3D, but you can, with the app and stuff, you can sort of, if you've taken a video with the camera and you've uploaded it and send it to somebody, if they take their camera and they move it up or and down or around, it moves as if it were in sync with the camera lens, so you can really see everything around you. So, and that was maybe $200 or $300 also, and that was a few years ago. So I'm sure they're better and less expensive than they were before. But the Ricoh Theta is good. I'm sure there's lots of other great out there. All right. So back to our questions from our viewers. Sean wants to know what content do you cover in the market for your weekly videos?
Sure. To send a link out, maybe David, I can send you a link later for my latest, but it's I try to cover stuff that I would find interesting for my prospects and my clients. So I target investment property owners of retail properties. So anyone who owns a shopping center in the Southern California area. So any first I'll usually have some sort of intro that is humorous or tries to get their attention. Then I'll often go into the
Oh, I think your audio dropped out, Mike.
salons are closed, and then barbershops or nail salons and restaurants. So I was updating people on what was open and closed. Then I might do something on the stimulus packages, unemployment or stimulus checks, and then some interesting, just general coronavirus news. Then I'll have a section on what's going on in real estate. So that could be what's going on in housing, but I usually try to have a focus on commercial or retail real estate. Let's say, where have cap rates been going in the past couple of months, or what's sales volume like in 2020 versus 2019? Which tenants are actually expanding right now? There's a whole lot of negative news out there. I try not to report too much negative news, but if there's something positive, for example, last week Dick's Sporting Goods opening 11 new stores in August. Wow, that's pretty interesting. So I talk about that. This week, Duke University they bought a Macy's store, and they're repurposing that into a medical center. And since I went to Duke, I like to kind of tie some of my personal experience back into there. So I talk about that as well. So it usually ends up being somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes long.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I have to tell, and I subscribe. I get the updates. Urge everybody. We'll send around the links to Mike's channel, so with the replay of the video. So, and also maybe Mike, you can provide us with the names of your setup, the different stuff, because we're getting a lot of questions about that. Lady Walsh wanted to know about the uh, name of the microphone you use, and also she wanted to know. Hold on a second. What app for text you're using?
What app for?
I think maybe for the.
Oh, the teleprompter. I use this app. Let me get the name of it right now. It's called Prompt Smart. Prompt Smart. I'll type it in the chat. I can do that. Prompt Smart. And I actually paid a couple bucks for the paid version. And what I like about this one is it actually has voice recognition. So as you read, it knows to scroll.
Oh, wow.
So, some of the other ones, they'll scroll too fast or too slow, and then you kind of have to stop your video and re-record. But this one will go at your speed. The issue on the flip side could be if you read too fast, the teleprompter is just going to follow you, and that's your problem if you read too fast. And that's what people tend to do. They just kind of go too fast. So that one's called Prompt Smart. I see the other question is, what is the name of the microphone? The wired one I use is made by a company called PowerDeWise, and then the wireless one that I purchased but haven't used much, but I do like it. It's called the Pixel Air. So I put those into the chat. So all of this stuff is on Amazon. The wireless one I think is about between $100 and $130. The wired one, I think, I'm not necessarily partial to the PowerDeWise brand. This happened to be the one I bought. It's about $20.
Remember, for my bar mitzvah, my rabbi told me that he was going to have a string attached to the back of my pants, and that if I was going too fast, he was going to tug on the string. So I didn't. I think I did okay. We didn't have video of it back in those days, but
okay.
But I don't remember getting any tugs on the string. All right, so we have lots of great questions from everybody. at first, Deborah Kubicek wanted to let us know that you can download the Matterport app for your iPhone, and she's just getting started. Deborah, we hope to check in with you and see how you're doing with your Matterport videos. Tony Vanderbeek asks, do you utilize any music or other assets you don't create in your videos? And if so, where do you get them from? Thank you.
Okay, so that's a good question. So in the technical video realm, if someone's talking but you see something else on the screen, like a picture or a video, we call that B-roll. So that's just a technical term. But the answer is yes. I use quite a bit of it because I think people would rather see some other video rather than just my talking head. And that's actually a technical term too, a talking head. So we'll say, oh, I'm just going to do a talking head video because it's just a head on a screen that's talking. But I try to spice it up by adding some B-roll and music. I haven't been doing music because it's just one more thing that I don't really want to deal with when I'm on such a tight timeline to get something produced. But I do grab other videos. So sometimes what I do, and I know other YouTubers do this too, we'll just grab a video from another YouTube video and we'll put that in ours, and you're supposed to give credit saying where you got that video from, which I try to do. So there are screen capture software. So the video editor I use, Camtasia, it has a feature where you can record a video on your screen. So sometimes I use that. The company that makes a Camtasia makes a software called Snagit. I'll type that in here, Snagit and Camtasia. And Snagit's it's like $50, and that one can also record video. So Snagit also records images or screenshots. It's like the Windows snipper tool, but like 100 times more advanced. So I use Snagit quite a bit to put these together. So so I will grab some other videos. What I do a lot is I'll grab a screenshot of a news article. So let's say I say something like, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to extend unemployment benefits by $400. And then I will grab a screenshot of an article from, say, the LA Times or New York Times, and I'll show that on the screen as I'm talking about that. So you can use a screen grabbing tool like the Windows Snipper or Snagit to grab that image and use that as your B-roll.
That's great. I would say, Tony, one note of caution is if you decide to use music, make sure that it's music that is in the public domain. If you try, this is kind of a wacky story, but I was once doing an interior video of one of my listings, and it was a closed bank, but the Muzak was still playing in the bank. And when I loaded it up to YouTube, YouTube ended up denying the video or not letting me publish it because I didn't own the intellectual property for the Muzak music that was playing in the background. And so YouTube does have public domain music that you can drop into your videos if you want, and I think that's probably what I ended up doing in that case, was just using iMovie and dropping in the soundtrack to cover over the Muzak. But you do have to be careful about using things that are not in the public domain, because if you're lucky, they'll just take it down, and worst case scenario, particularly with images, Getty Archives and some of the other big photo sources will come after you for money if you're using something that they own the intellectual property rights to. So just one little note of caution there.
Right. And just to point out, if you do get to the point where you want to put music in all your videos, there are services for a monthly fee or an annual fee. You get access to their huge database of royalty-free music tracks that you can use on your own videos.
Good to know. Okay, and let's see. I think we got all the questions, so we can get back on track and keep those questions coming, people. They're terrific. Um, so, let's talk about, sort of the practical net effect of this. You're obviously spending a lot of time producing all this great material. Uh, and, every hour you spend, doing this is an hour that you're not spending cold calling or foot canvassing. So, you're a smart guy. You went to, Fuqua School of Business, so you certainly have done a cost benefit analysis of this. Can you tell us a little bit about the benefits that you've seen from becoming a video presence?
Sure. Well, in terms of the listing videos for about the properties, I've put those out there, and as I mentioned, they help me get new listings. So it's hard to really say if I would have gotten that listing with or without the video. It's not that, and a property owner will say, I hired you over the guy at CBRE because because I like your marketing video. So that those are a little bit harder to quantify. Now, on these personal branding videos that I've been doing since March, those have been really good because they've helped me get something out for my email. So before this, I was not very consistent sending out emails to my database. I do paper newsletters, which go out once a quarter, and I sent out an email every once in a while whenever I felt like it. I wasn't very consistent. Now with these, since the pandemic started, I've become very consistent. I've been doing these once a week, and each email that goes out has a video associated with it. And I've been getting quite a few calls from the emails, and people saying, I like your video. The other thing, if you have an email mailing list and you're using a service like Constant Contact or MailChimp, you can see who's opening these videos, who's opening the emails, and they even rate each person with a star rating. So I can go through and say, okay, who are my 5-star email recipients? And if I decide to call them, there's a really good chance they're going to know who I am. And in fact, I did that kind of early on. I would call people and I'd say, oh, I'm Mike Lynn. And they'd be, oh yeah, I get your emails. I like your videos. And that's kind of the best is when someone calls me saying, hey, I get your emails, I watch your videos, I like them, and I have a question for you, right? And second best is you do the outreaches, because this is, I can't just sit back and expect people are just going to call me. This is part of my marketing and my prospecting plan. This has to supplement my outgoing calls. So I would say up until recently, I would get maybe one or a little bit less than one cold incoming call a week from someone who wanted to sell something, which I thought was pretty amazing. Now on the flip side, not everything that they wanted me to sell was something that I wanted to sell, right? It could be someone who's got a piece of land out in the middle of nowhere and he thinks it's worth $5 million when it's really worth 100,000. And so I did get a couple of those, but I can't control who calls me. But I can just hope that the more of those calls I get, the more opportunities that I will have that will be something that I am interested in working on. So last week, I got my first listing from my email marketing. It was from someone who has actually a very well located piece of land. I do work on some land, but I'm not a land specialist. So I partnered with someone in my office. So we're working on this listing together. But this is someone who I previously didn't know. I don't think I ever spoke to him before, but I had been sending my emails to him, and he thought it was ready to sell his property, and he gave me a call. And I've had someone else who I did a proposal for his strip center. So it is a property that I would definitely be interested in selling in. I did the proposal for him. He didn't think the market is where he wants it to be, so we'll just keep in touch. But he reached out to me. Like I said, I can't control who calls me, but the more of these I do, the more people I get who are reaching out to me. I also get some other random people, someone who wants some consulting on a restaurant project. Again, not something I do, but I know people who do this type of work, and I'm happy to refer out to other colleagues. So I am getting people calling me, which is always nice. And that's the motivation that keeps me going and cranking these out when sometimes I really don't want to.
So you mentioned something about doing these every week. So how important do you think it is to have that sort of consistent presence? Could somebody just say, "Hey, I'm just gonna do it, I'm gonna try one and then see if it works," or do you think that people really need to commit to doing it, every week, like you're doing, and give it a good 2 or 3 month shot before they decide whether this is something that they're good at and want to do and it's helpful, or they should, just step away from the camera?
Sure, I think it takes consistency and time to make this happen. So you can't put out one great video and expect that people are going to come to you. And I had this misconception last year. So I spent a lot of money last year on a property listing video that I thought was great. And when I put that out there, I got calls from all sorts of people saying, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen a property video like that before. That was awesome." But then it's not like I had people calling me and say, "Oh, I want you to sell my property because I saw that great video." So after that video, I didn't do much for a couple months, and then it just kind of went away. Now, do I need to necessarily put out one video a week? I'm not sure, and I probably don't. But right now, while I'm able to, I keep saying I'm going to do this until I can't do it anymore. But I think if I decided, let's say I decided to go to a once a month schedule, I think it would just take longer for me to get into people's minds. I think by getting my email and video out to people each week, and I do it at the same time. So my email goes out at 9:15 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesdays. So I think that a lot of people they're kind of trained to expect something at that time. If I were to do it once a month, is it the first of the month, the 10th of the month, or people are just like, "Oh yeah, sometimes it shows up," and there's a lot. You don't see every email. Sometimes they go to spam. Sometimes you get busy and you just don't see them. And there's a much higher chance of them missing that email if you're only sending it once a month, and then you don't have another opportunity till the next month. So I think especially in video, there are people who are at the top of the YouTube chain with millions and millions of subscribers, but you hear that their first year or 2 years or 3 years, they had like 200 subscribers, and they just been doing this for 5 years, for 10 years, and that's how they get to where they are now. I've been doing this consistently for only 5 months, and I'm feeling, wow, this is pretty hard. But there's people who are doing this for years and years and years to get where they are. So I think it's just going to take a lot of consistency, quality content, and time just to get to where I want to be. I'm certainly not where I want to be, but I'm trying to get there. And as far as I know, I don't know anyone else who's doing it. So it's not like I have a roadmap to follow. So I'm just kind of going with it and seeing where it goes.
I mean, you have Alan Buchanan in California doing his Tuesday traffic tips.
Oh, that's right.
Those fun, 1 or 2 minute videos where he's just, drawing on his vast experience as a commercial broker. But what you're doing is, different. His are, meant to be sort of more on the fly, and yours are more researched and have a different level of production value. And I'm not saying that one is a better way to do it or the other. You have to do what works for you and what you're comfortable and capable of doing. And clearly, you're dedicating a lot of time to it, and I'm sure Alan gives a lot of thought to what he's doing. But the videos are 2 minutes long. Maybe he's doing a couple of different takes. So your way of doing it is great and very effective, but it's there's other ways that you can do it, and you have to do what is you're comfortable and capable of. Question for you: what you're sending the emails, you're posting them on YouTube. Are you doing any other how are you putting it out on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, any other social media, or are you just sticking to the email?
I do. So after it posts on Wednesday mornings, I'll take the link and I'll post it on LinkedIn as well. I'll write a little summary and put it on LinkedIn. I put it on my business Facebook page, and then I put it on Twitter. You just reminded me, I forgot to put it on Twitter this morning. But it's all manual. And so if I get busy and I forget to do it, sometimes it doesn't happen till later in the day. And I've been known to miss a post or two on some of the other platforms. But given that just creating a video and getting it on YouTube takes so much time, that's really where my primary focus is. And then usually once Wednesday's done, it's like, okay, now I got to get on to the rest of my week and my regular business. So I focus on YouTube, and I do post on the other platforms, but I'm not that active on them. So I apologize if someone sends me a message on one of the other platforms and I don't respond, because I'm usually not monitoring those very regularly.
So Tony Vanderbeek asked a question about search engine optimization, and wants to know if your website is enjoying any SEO benefits from videos. I guess the first question is, do you have a personal branded website?
Sure. Yeah, I have a website. It's MikeLynnCRE.com. And so I had that, that's why I had that for about 3 years. And it's just where I put all my stuff, just to have it in one place. Is it enjoying any SEO benefit from my videos? I don't know. That's a good question, but I don't check out my analytics often enough to really know. That's something, I guess, if I had a marketing person to look at, then I would know. But I will mention one thing that I thought very odd. I write newsletters about what's happening in the cities that I work in. And so one of the cities is Ontario, California. And so I posted my newsletters on my website. And one of the news items is that Topgolf is coming to Ontario. And so I put that in one of my newsletters and just posted on my website. If you search for Topgolf Ontario in Google, my website is actually the first link that comes up. It's either the first link or the second link, depending on where you're located. But I was shocked, because even topgolf.com doesn't show up as high as my little tiny Mike Lynn CRE website. So I guess you can consider that like blogging, or just posting content. And Google's smart. They know what quality content is. So I'm pretty sure if I decided to write an article on Topgolf instead of just putting it as a little blurb in my Ontario newsletter, then that would be even stronger in SEO. So that is an example, I think, of just website text content helping with search engine optimization.
When you put the link in your newsletter, are you directing people directly to YouTube, or are you sending them to a page on your website with the YouTube video embedded on it?
I'm sending them directly to YouTube.
I would suggest you consider embedding it in your website in the future. Just we can talk about that later, but
Sure.
it'll get people into the Mike Lynn habit. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
that's great. We are approaching 4 o'clock here on the East. So anybody have questions that they would like to get in before we say goodbye? And this has been absolutely fantastic. And what's nice is you're doing this at a level that everybody can understand. I think you're fresh enough in this that you remember what it was like when you didn't know how to do any of this stuff, and so you're able to communicate to people who want to get started how how much work it is and what tools you use. You're not at the stage where you're taking any of this for granted, which is really very helpful, I think, to people who are trying to wrap their head around that. I think that's fantastic. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Let's see. So while we're waiting to see if there's any other questions, I want to just fast forward here to your how people can get in touch with you here, and we'll include this in the email going out. to everybody with the video. So you can see Mike's got his YouTube channel, and he's got his website and LinkedIn, Twitter, and email. And maybe we'll grab from you, Mike, your business Facebook page as well.
Oh, sure.
And we get a thank you from Danny Haney saying thank you for all the info, Mike, and thank you, David. You're welcome. And cheers on your continued success.
Thank you.
No, it really is interesting. I can't wait to see, how this develops for you over the next, 6 months. And now that you've got 5 or 6 months into it, it's because clearly you're putting a lot of work into it, and it's nice to see that you're getting some really interesting results. What do your colleagues at Progressive, what's their response to this? Are they jealous?
I don't think they're jealous. I mean, my managing broker, Brad Umansky, he's been very supportive of it, and because he knows that it takes time, and it takes time away from traditional prospecting, which is just picking up the phone and calling. But he's been very supportive. He watches my videos. He comments on each of them and tells me what he likes or has suggestions. And in the beginning, it was all news, and he suggested, well, why don't you put some more about more self-promotion in there? So often when I have something to talk about, I will. So for example, in this week's video, I closed escrow on a strip center last week, which ordinarily wouldn't be huge news, but during the pandemic, it kind of is, not a very common occurrence, especially a mom and pop strip center with just mom and pop tenants. So I talked about that in the video, and when I have a new listing, I talk about that too. So sandwiched in between news, because I do want to provide value for people. I can't just make these videos an advertisement for myself, but I do need to mention in there, hey, by the way, I don't just make videos, I also sell properties. So that's one thing to remember, is that ultimately your goal is to, my goal in making these videos is to convert these to clients later on. And sharing information is nice, but you don't want them to just think of you as the news reporter, and then when they want to sell something, they go to the other guy down the street, because they think that all I do for 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, is just crank out videos. No, I need to remind them that I sell stuff too.
Yeah, that this is supporting what you do, not the other way around. And
right.
What you can do if Brad begins to get a little cranky is you can interview him about his book.
Yeah.
I mean, Brad was very kind, and I guess when I'd asked him to talk at Let's Get Smart at Recon a couple of years ago, and he wasn't able to do it, he sent me a copy of his book, which I have enjoyed and recommended to many others. So
okay.
And we're getting more thank yous from people who've been watching, from Deborah Kubicek and from Tony Vanderbeek. And well, thank you guys for giving us your time. As I like to say, our time is our stock in trade, and so anytime you give us, we truly appreciate. And Alex G, there will be a recording of this, and we'll be sending it out in the next day or so. And so the only thing I think left to do is to say thank you to you, Mike, for your time and for really, explaining, how you've, where you are on this road, and how you've gotten there, and the value of it to you. And of course, I want to thank Julia from our team for all her help in coordinating this today. And thank you to everybody watching in the future. And I will suggest that if you are not already Quantum Listing members, please do join. We actually added a new feature today, which is so I guess like a virtual tour of your profile page, which hopefully will take you through the things you really need to know as soon as you join. So if you do join, please do give us your feedback on that. And thanks again, and we hope to see you real soon on another one of our webinars. And Mike, maybe we can do a check-in in another 6 months or so about how your video journey is going.
Sure.
Excellent.
Sure. Thanks, David. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mike.
All right,
Thank you. Thank you, Julia.
okay.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you.